enemy.
In the future, talk radio will actually educate, inspire, and make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
Welcome to Life by the Numbers with celebrity numerologist Michelle Arbeau. Broadcast on UBN Radio from the Sunset Gower Studios in Hollywood. Exploring topics of spiritual growth, current affairs, celebrity news, and more through the lens of numbers. And we're live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Life by the Numbers with celebrity numerologist Michelle Arbeau. That's me. And I've got a very special guest here with me today, the one and only Ricky Powell. Ricky, welcome to the show.
Wow, what a welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Michelle. I'm so glad to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. You know, Ricky is one of my all-time favorite people of all time. He is the sweetest, nicest soul you could ever meet. He lights up a room. As soon as he walked in, it was like somebody turned down the lights because he lights up a room. He really does. And you really do. I mean, you're just so positive, and you really, I mean, I was having a bad day yesterday. I was just telling you about my bad day story. And you just make everyone feel better with your energy. I don't know what it is about you. You should bottle and sell it.
I'm trying.
But it just rubs off. So thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your beautiful energy with all of us.
Thank you so much for having me.
And I've got my
Michelle.
great tech guy. It's John, right?
Yes, thank you.
I couldn't remember names to save my soul. I can remember numbers. That's not a problem.
You'll remember
But
I'm a
names.
9.
I remember he's a 9, but I don't remember his name.
That's cool.
All right, John, thanks for being here,
My
because
pleasure.
without him, it would be chaos. So let's get to a couple topics first before we get to Ricky, because I'm going to introduce Ricky a little bit further once we get going. But I want to talk about this Clippers owner, because this is a topic that really touches me in a more personal way, because not everyone knows this about me, but my dad is African American. And yes, I don't look like I'm African American, because actually my mom is very, very white. She has black hair and blue eyes, and I always say it's like chalk met chocolate. So I've got the curly hair and the mixed eyes, but that's about it. So it really touches home, because it's something that I grew up with, and I watched mixed children go through a lot. And even myself, I was touched by a little bit of that racist type behavior. Coming from the East Coast and being in a small town, it was, not so fun. Growing up different. So I wanted to look at this owner's date of birth, because I had to see what was going on. Why would he say something like this? What was going on with his energy that he would do this to himself and others? And what I came up with was not surprising. So first of all, he's an 11, which 11 is the highest spiritual number. And 11s are usually here when they should be way over here. So they're usually the life path that most easily loses their way. They're usually kind of like organized chaos at the best. At their worst, they're literally completely turned around. So their life path is usually very tumultuous and very turbulent for most of their lives until they get where they're supposed to be and who they really are. So some of them never figure it out, and some of them do. But with him, he, being that 11, he's a more conservative 11. He's the 29 11. So he's got that 9, which is boxed in thinking, or black and white thinking, right and wrong thinking. So with him thinking, okay, this is the way it should be, or, I don't want these types of people at my games, or that kind of thing. So it's very kind of right and wrong, black and white type of thinking. And then also to compound that, he's got the arrow of the intellect and the arrow of the planner, which is very intellectual based, but also ducks in a row energy. So again, more perfectionistic energy, more my way of thinking is the right way of thinking, just very structured, rigid, not go with the flow at all. So those things are just, part of his personality, part of his characteristics, but he's also got double 4s going on, which double 4s are very much in excess. So if we have a number in excess, like multiple digits, so 2 and greater, you're going to see the negative side of the number come out very strongly. So with the double 4s, it's too much focus on the physical, because 4 is the middle physical number. So it's very much focused on materialism, superficialness, and again, that's linking to, I don't want this particular kind of person at my game. It's very much wrapped up in the materialism and the physical stuff. So it's no surprise that he would say something like this, and I'm not surprised. Oh, I guess I am surprised that he hasn't done this sooner, that he hasn't said or done something of this nature publicly sooner. So the one thing I think is the trigger in this and why he's done it this year is because he's in a personal year of 1, which is the number of new beginnings. It's the pioneer, the trailblazer, the standalone, isolated number, but it's also known as the number of the ego. So he's very much in ego mode with those double 4s, being very materialistic, and then being in the personal year of 1. So I think that was probably the trigger factor. The other thing is that his professional name, his full name, which is the representation of our personality. So how does the world see us? They see us through our name frequency. And his full name, which is our most truest expression when we're looking at our birth name, is a 5. And it's in the negative. 5 is very dominating and controlling. It's very power-seeking. Hitler was a 5. So there's so many factors here. I mean, I could go on and on with this guy, but that's likely the case as to why this happened, and he's going to live and learn, definitely. I mean, he's I don't know. Looking at these stories and looking at these people, it just, seeing inside of them, seeing inside their brain, it's like I wish I could be there to tell them, look. Right. I can't, but hopefully maybe, Donald, I hope you're listening. Okay, so I want to go into another segment first before I go into Ricky's stuff, because Ricky's stuff is really fascinating, and his backstory is really incredible, and what he's doing now, and how he was led to what he's doing now. So it's really cool. But before we get to that, I want to talk about words, because what I'm going to do going forward, and that was kind of my celebrity/current affairs segment combined today because we have a guest. So I'm going to go on to the quirky numbers facts segment, which is the only one I'm going to do today, which includes the word of the day. So one of the quirky numbers facts that I found, and it's linked to the word of the day, is Pythagoras. Now, Pythagoras is, of course, my buddy because he's the basis of numerology, and he's the father of numerology. So, I always look to him for answers because he was a mathematician and a philosopher. So he knew his stuff. He was really, to me, the only accurate person that could tell us about numbers. So, and I actually have a tattoo that says everything lies veiled in numbers, which is Pythagoras. So love him. Just as I love Ricky. So with Pythagoras, he said, and this really goes in alignment with my book, which I'm going to be bringing up a lot over the coming weeks as we do Word of the Day, the energy of words. And he says what I believe is that words carry enormous power and can be decoded by numbers. Boom. I mean, this guy was born many years ago, and he knew this already. And numbers are at the root of language in the form of letters, so a mathematical expression can be written as words as well. So that solidifies what I already believe, is that numbers are the language of the universe, and they can be applied to words as well. So kudos to Pythagoras, because he already figured out that many moons ago. So let's get on to the word of the day, which is epic. I came across this the other day, and I was looking at something else. I can't remember what it was, but I was looking up a word, and the thesaurus had epic as the other word, and I thought, epic. I haven't used that in a while. It's like the hippie days, epic. Or, when I was younger, I can remember people saying epic. And so I decoded it with my book and the chart, and it's a 6. So when we say epic, it's kind of this word that's like monumental or big or, catastrophic or, all extraordinary, those kinds of things. It's linked to that, or awesome. And 6 is the number of creativity, creative expression. It's the nurturing visionary number. So it's like seeing the bigger, broader picture, connecting the dots. So when we say it's epic, it is, huge, big, seeing that eagle's eye view. So it's interesting to correlate words with the number to see what it actually means. So epic really matches. So Ricky, I want to ask you, what's your favorite word?
Well, of course, happiness is always there,
that's
right?
a given.
But I got to tell you, all of a sudden a new word that's also an acronym came into my life, and it's HIP.
HIP.
And I'm gonna
that's right.
Yeah, and we can talk more about that later. But really, it's an acronym for happiness and inner peace.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that has a lot of meaning for me lately.
And look at that. You pick a word that means, or it has the same frequency as the word of the day, which exactly. I mean, epic adds to 24, and then 2 + 4 is 6. Hip adds to 24, and 2 + 4 is 6. So you couldn't have picked a better word.
Whew.
So again, that is like seeing the bigger picture, being the creative visionary. That is the energy that word holds. So when people say it, that's what they're feeling.
Good.
That's the energy signature of that word. So it's pretty cool.
Good.
I like it. I remember we talked about that, so I can't wait for you to talk a little bit more about that. But just one other thing, Ricky, before we go into that, because that's leading us into this 6 thing, because I had one other thing I wanted to say about the 6, because we had the other story last week about that athlete who had all these 6s, and he had relationship drama. He killed his girlfriend. So this 6 thing seems to be coming up a lot lately, and it's kind of like this fall over from the previous year, which is all about relationships as well. So I think we're still cleaning up a lot of this relationship stuff from last year, and the 6s are really coming front and center for a lot of people. But I was looking at this really cool thing. This might be another little quirky numbers fact that people should know about. It's a link to the 6 and the 11, which of course I love 11. 11 is that number that follows me everywhere, and I'm sure there are a lot of people listening that also have that 11 follow them everywhere. But this particular code on this, what's called the Coral Castle. Have you heard of that before? The Coral Castle was built, let me see, yes, is a stone structure created by Latvian. I don't think I copied it all over here, but Google the Coral Castle and you will come up with it. But inside the Coral Castle, anyway, we'll get to the numbers part, is the 6, the number 6, the number 105, and the number 195. And if you reduce those numbers, you get 666. And 6 in the Bible is the number of human labor. It's the visionary number in numerology. It's the number of creativity and creative expression. And what this builder discovered with this code is that this particular structure had hidden within it anti-gravity secrets. And he actually built this Coral Castle through these anti-gravity secrets that he was able to discover through numbers. And so it's a really neat story. Google it if you can. But the code, there's something about 111. The first 2 numbers, 6, yeah, that's right. It adds to 111. So the first 2 numbers add to that multiple 11. Yeah, it's just a really cool story. So we won't, dwell on it anymore, but I wanted to bring up the 666. So if you want to look into it a little further, Google Coral Castle, because it's a really cool story. And I couldn't get enough of it. I'm going to have to Google myself more because it just intrigues me so much. All right, so if you want to call in for a reading near the end of the show, we'll be doing some of those. The number is 323-284-7826. And, of course, you're listening to Life by the Numbers with celebrity numerologist Michelle Arbeau on UMB Radio. So let's get to Ricky. Now, like I say, I met Ricky several years ago, and he's my favorite, almost my favorite of all time. I mean, other than, close friends or family, you're right there. So I want to talk a little bit about his story and his background, because it's an amazing story of working in the industry, and of course the industry being TV and Hollywood and that kind of thing. And I can only imagine what it would be like to spend 25 plus years in an industry like that, because it's so being from Canada, moving to LA, it's like night and day compared to the realness. It's like in Canada, we're the type of people that are just raw and real. We wave to people on the sidewalk. we're not really in that superficial mode, you know,
Right.
but you come to LA and it's very much that, you know, especially in the industry, you know, there's a lot of fakeness, dare I say,
Yeah.
but, you know, being here in the studio, but,
Right, yeah, no.
but definitely, you know, and I think for you, being such an authentic, positive, full of integrity kind of person, it must have been really, really rough. And, you know, knowing your backstory, knowing that you started off as a child star and worked your way up into doing what you do today, which is...
Well, I've been at NBC for over 24 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what are you doing now? What is your role now?
Every show that airs on the network, I put on the air,
Wow.
for better or for worse. So all the shows finish, they deliver to us. I put all the timings in for where the commercials go, and I do all the branding with the rating icons and the peacocks and the lower third graphics and all of that stuff. So I'm like the liaison between all of our outside post supervisors and all of our internal partners. So working with broadcast standards, network operations, on-air promo, all of them.
Wow. So you're kind of right in the belly of the beast, so to speak?
Right. You could say that.
So it's you that's responsible for all those bad shows.
Yeah, if anything, no, well, we won't go there.
Okay, so
yeah.
I mean, definitely working around people, and I know you've told me a little bit about the insides or the what it's like to be on the inside,
Right.
and you know the atmosphere and what it's like to deal with some of the negativity that goes on, and you're just wanting to be happy. So tell us a little bit about that. How?
Well, you know, my first encounter with that really was when I was a kid, growing up as a child actor, and I feel so blessed. I had such a wonderful career as a child actor. From the time I was 3, I just pointed to the TV and said, "I want to be in there," you know.
Wow.
And then I became best friends with a boy who was on a series at the time when I was about 7. And his dad helped me get an agent, started going out on things. First thing I did was an episode of Bewitched, which was my favorite show.
I love that show.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
Isn't it so funny, you know, when you say, as a child, you blurted out what it is you wanted to do. And
Right.
so many people say that your calling is there.
Yeah.
Or there are signs of it as a child. So parents should be looking for that. You know, I always say about myself as well. I mean, I can remember locking myself away in a closet and writing all the time.
Yeah.
So it's no surprise that, you know, I've been writing books because eventually it had to come somewhere, right?
Right.
So it's neat that you just
Yeah.
matter-of-factly knew at such a young
I
age.
did.
3, that's really young.
I did. I know. And luckily it went very well. But so I was hired to be a recurring role on a show called The Smith Family with Henry Fonda.
Oh, yes.
And that was kind of my first glimmer or glimpse into what a dark moment can be. I had been on the show a few times, and then we were in rehearsal, and I was supposed to have gotten into a fight with his younger son, and I came over to invite him over for breakfast, and I did that. And we were in rehearsal, and the whole cast and crew broke up laughing, because I guess I said it kind of in a cute way as a 10-year-old.
Yes.
And finished the day, and that afternoon we got a call from the head of Don Feddersen Casting saying that I wouldn't be on the show anymore. And my mom said, "Why not?" And she said, "Well, Mr. Fonda didn't think he was really right for the show or the part." And I had already been on 3 or 4 times, and so the producers felt so bad about that, so badly, that when he was out of town, they had me back to do another episode, and they put me on an episode of My 3 Sons. So that's how bad they felt.
Wow.
Because here's this legend,
Yeah.
you know, living legend, who somehow felt upstaged by a 10-year-old kid. I mean, that's so silly.
Wow.
You know, you were talking about ego earlier, and you know, that ego can be such a dark thing, or such a detriment to us personally when we hang on to that ego.
Yes.
And that's part of the whole message, is just to let that go, because otherwise, you know, it just starts playing with your mind, and you start believing or drinking your own Kool-Aid, if you will, you know, and you just it's just not a good thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Wow. That just says it all. I mean, that kind of sums up how the industry is.
Right,
You know?
and we deal with those egos. I mean, they're everywhere, and of course, in this particular industry, I mean, really, that's how I sort of stumbled onto the happiness path as well. Is that my first 9 years at NBC, I was working with a coworker who had major ego problems, and just in every way, and he had a lot of things going on. In an effort to help him, I picked up my first book on the subject of happiness. And of course, he wanted nothing to do with it because there are people out there who enjoy being the victims and love the drama and all of that. I got so excited that I took it and ran with it, and I've never put it down, and it's the best thing I have ever done. I mean, it's just been life-changing in terms of my career, both inside and outside the company.
So how long ago did you start this happiness?
Originally about around 2007, and I launched my first website at the time, I Choose Happiness, about how happiness is a choice we can make regardless of our outer circumstances. And that's now morphed into lifelong happiness, and it just keeps growing and growing. Yeah,
I was reading your bio, and I know we had talked about this a while back, but I think part of your bio had mentioned the masterminds group. What was that called?
Right. So, Masterminds of Lifelong Happiness, which is which is my like page on Facebook. So I've got a regular Facebook page and then also a like page, which over 3,000 people have found and liked, and it's been wonderful, and really sort of launching a whole new business on the corporate level as well as an individual level, with group coaching and mastermind groups and all of it. So it's pretty exciting.
Wow. I guess there was another part of the story that you had mentioned to me before that I guess we hadn't touched on. I'm trying to think of how you worded it before, how it led you to, and I guess it kind of goes in alignment with that cool concept you were talking about for the TV show. Remember that?
Right.
That really great title that you had. But I think that it was centered around that, where you were saying you wanted to bring some of this into that environment as well, and be the liaison for these people who were just stuck in a rut and stuck in that old paradigm of what the industry was, or what it should be. And I think that's part of the problem, is that they're just stuck in this continuous cycle, and it never really changes. And I think it's what most people think the industry is. It is, it's and it never changes. There's no positivity. It's similar to the corporate structure,
Very
definitely
similar. Very similar.
Exactly. But then you have this flare of snobbishness, I guess, that I'm better than you, or that kind of. So I think that's an added flavor. So it's even tougher to break into and to breathe happiness or breathe purpose and all that stuff into that world.
Right.
Totally. So I think I guess that topic, that show topic you were talking about, is really going to be like your life story all wrapped into one, and how you want to bring this to the industry.
Exactly.
So, I love it. I love all that. I mean, it's just I think about you often because I think about all the things that you could be doing with that, and my mind goes a mile a minute because I'm really keen on the whole happiness thing too. I mean, why be unhappy, right? I mean, where's that going to get you?
Life is too short.
Exactly.
I mean, our next day is not guaranteed. Our next moment is not guaranteed. So,
totally.
that's it. All we have is now. So if you're not going to be happy now, when?
Exactly. And you know what? That leads me to my story, because I have to tell my story at this point, Ricky. I totally forgot. So mine has to do with the industry too. So, and the happiness choice. It's choose to be happy. Choose to think of it in the positive instead of the negative. And, I had a rough day yesterday, but I'm back on the positive mode today. I'm back on being happy, because happiness rocks. So we'll get to Ricky's book in a minute, but I want to tell you my story, and it's raw and real. And I debated on whether I wanted to share it, but I'm going to share it because for those of you having a bad day out there, this is my bad day story. So the other day, the day before yesterday, actually, I was walking to the dry cleaners, and it's really close to where I live. So I thought, it's a beautiful day, I'm going to walk. So I was walking, and I happened to get an email on my phone, and I get an email whenever I get a call on my home phone. So Time Warner, yes, I'm going to. Time Warner sent me an email saying I had a voice message. So I checked it from my cell phone, and I froze because it was a call from a casting company, and they were casting for a relationship show. And they said in the message, I think you'd be a perfect fit, blah, blah, blah. And of course, I just sprinted home, called them, and left a message for the casting agent. So I waited, and I couldn't sleep all night. And then the next day, I didn't hear from her. So I called her again. She answered. And she said, oh, no, we've already cast for that. That message I sent to you last week on Wednesday. So, of course, devastation, right? And so, lo and behold, Time Warner was having issues with their messages, and it didn't come through until then. So, lost out on this really, really great opportunity with a great network and a great show, perfect fit for me. But I look at it as, what's the chances that I would miss that one particular message when I never miss any messages? So it's obviously divinely in order, and it happened for a reason, and better things are coming, because my publicist, shout out to Roz, my publicist at Roz Wolf PR. If you need a publicist, she's great. She said to me, you know what, if you were tied up in this show, you might miss the bigger things that are coming. So, I kind of smiled and I said, thanks for the pep talk, because it's true. It did happen for a reason. I didn't miss that one message for nothing. And bigger things are coming. So happiness is back in my life. And I'm dusting myself off, picking myself up, and carrying on. So if you're having a bad day out there, remember my story today, and I'm sure your day won't seem as bad. So let's get back to the happiness subject. Well, I guess we're still on it, but this is your book, Ricky, and I love the little stick people on it. That's so cute. I always giggle when I look at this book because it's so cute. So it's called Happiness Rocks. And it's a cute little book, just as cute as Ricky. And it's a quick little easy read, but it's chock full of ways to be happy. And that's the thing. Happiness is simple. And that's why the book is just, it's simple, it's cut to the chase, it gives you exactly what you need to be happy. And it really boils down to choice. Choose to be happy. Do things every day that are going to bring you happiness. And you can be rotten and you can be negative, or you can be happy. That's the choices we have.
Right. And Michelle, to your point and story that you just told, really, it's not like we're sitting here saying that life is Pollyanna and that nothing bad happens. Bad things happen.
That's right.
And and to me, even taking a deeper, more raw look at the day that you were just describing, we do believe that everything happens for a reason. And for me, what's hard to explain sometimes is when you suffer a real loss. I mean, losing a loved one, losing, a parent or a best friend like I did, or a very dear friend of mine just lost her husband out of nowhere. And so when you go through something like that, you sometimes wonder, if everything happens for a reason, how could this possibly have happened? Yeah. And I think it goes to how we sort of feel about this life and what's after and all of that. And even losing my best friend at 23, the most horrible thing that's really ever happened, I still feel his energy. I still feel like he's with me every day. And when things like that do happen, I think it's really important to allow ourselves to grieve and to mourn and to heal and move through the pain and get to the other side, and then, move on and live our lives happily in spite of what happened, and almost use that as fuel for our continuing effort to remain happy, because that's what they would have wanted. Yes. And no one would want us to just stay stuck in that mode, because it serves no one. No. Right, and we're all here for a reason, and it's finding out what that reason is, as we now have, and that's what we're doing now on a daily basis, and all of that is so important. So it's moving beyond and being able to, if something knocks us off that happiness pedestal, so to speak, it's just picking ourselves up, dusting ourselves off, feeling it, and then moving forward. Exactly. And I had a hard long talk with myself last night, and I thought, you know what, I can be bummed and I can, drag my feet and feel like I'm a loser, for missing that opportunity. All these things ran through my mind, and I thought, you know what, this is ridiculous. I have so much to offer, and the fact that they even called me means that I'm probably going to get another call, and that's, I just changed my outlook, and I think that's the thing. The bottom line is that
you have a choice in every moment to change your outlook, your
That's right.
perspective, and it makes the world a difference. You know, if I kept that perspective, where would I be today? I'd be
Absolutely.
moping around, and you know. And now I'm optimistic that I'll probably get another call for something. You know,
For sure.
probably opportunities are going to be coming and knocking. If I believe that, it's going to happen.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you used those particular words, "I'm a loser," as an example of what, you may have been thinking, or,
Yeah.
that little inner voice that's inside all of us can be our best friend, and it can also be our worst critic.
That's right.
And when you look at that self-talk, that's another way to really change your lens or tweak it. And if that's what's coming through for you, or, for anyone, if that little voice is saying nasty things, just fix it fast. I mean, literally, it's time to get rid of that voice and bring in a different one, because it's that inner voice that really drives us.
Yes.
And it's time to be our own best cheerleader, because if not us, if you don't love yourself,
Exactly.
who else is going to do it?
Yeah.
So very important.
So true. So true. And I think that is that's really classic. You know, it really is, because I think most people forget that part, that if you don't, whatever you're feeling about yourself, you're going to be treated that way. You know, for a long time, I was such a people pleaser, and people disrespected me. They didn't treat me with respect because I didn't have respect for myself. And I see that even at a young age, when I was bullied a lot in school, and I thought, looking back, I thought I was not valuable. So people didn't treat me as valuable. So it really does boil down to that. How you feel about yourself is totally reflected in energy. And as a people pleaser, I was always used and abused, Right. And then when I stood up and was able to say no if I didn't want to do something, or, had some sort of boundaries and sense of, self-respect, then all of a sudden people did respect me. So it was just like a switch. And truly, if you don't like how other people are treating you, look at yourself. Look at how you're treating yourself, because that's a mirror completely. So, John, let's take a break.
Okay.
We've been yakking away. All right. We'll be back.
Bring me down.
new sound of online radio. Welcome to
I guess John, he just hooked us up. So I was already talking, right? Miss Blabbermouth was already talking before it even went live. So welcome back to the show. You're listening to Life by the Numbers with celebrity numerologist Michelle Arbeau, and that's me. And it's broadcast, of course, on UBN Radio here at the Sunset Gower Studios in Hollywood. And I've got my special guest here, the one and only Ricky Powell. I think I lost my volume, John.
No.
Oh, it's cutting out. No, it totally cut out for a second. Yeah, totally.
It could be a short. Let me fix.
Yeah, I lost myself. I couldn't hear myself. Okay, so yeah, we've got Ricky here and fabulous conversation about being happy. I mean, life is too short, and I do believe in reincarnation, but we're only going to remember this lifetime unless we do some sort of past life regression or something. So let's enjoy the life we can remember and be happy. So that was Pharrell we were just listening to. And I wanted to just briefly mention that Pharrell is an 11, which is the highest spiritual number. And he's got the arrow of spirituality. Really nice energy all the way around. I mean, I was looking at all of these other digits too, and it's just really powerful stuff. And Ricky was mentioning he's got a 24-hour video. Is it all about happiness?
Well, it's the song Happy.
Oh,
it just keeps looping and looping and looping, and he
Yeah,
just
yeah.
keeps cutting to different people singing the song, but literally for 24 hours.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Google that, people. Google that. I'm going to Google it.
It's
I know
amazing.
that. Totally. Okay. So let's keep going, Ricky, because there's three topics I want to cover with Ricky. And one is gratitude, which is so important, I think. And I try to practice it as much as possible. The other one is stepping out of your comfort zone, which is another one that I have issues with from time to time. And the third one is forgiveness, which is something that I've had to go through myself in order to heal and move on. So those are three big topics that I want Ricky to take us through.
Absolutely. Well, and they're so important that I'm always talking about them from stage. And so starting really with, let me start with stepping out of your comfort zone.
Yes.
Because of how important it is. And normally during my presentations, I've got a PowerPoint that's guiding me through, and no text really. It's all images. It's all photos
I put you
and
on the
pictures
spot?
and everything, right? But I've been doing that for a while now, and I just did a guest speaking spot about a week ago, and I just wanted to step out of my comfort zone. I've seen such great speakers. There's so many great speakers out there, who just do it without a net, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're just there. It's just them, right?
I know.
And I thought, you know what? I can do that. And so I did. And with no rehearsal. I mean, I really never rehearse because I just speak from the heart. And I learned from my mentor that's what you need to do. You need to speak from your heart. And when you do, it removes the fear because you're not gonna forget anything, and by the way, if you do, no one's gonna know, right?
Exactly.
We tend to forget that, but it's very true.
And what's meant to be said is said.
Absolutely. And so I did that, and it was about how to change the world. And I went on for 20 minutes about things we can do to help change the world and how it all starts with your own mindset and all of that. But stepping out of your comfort zone, again, I've got this 9 to 5, day job, right?
Yeah.
That I've had forever, and it would be very easy for me to just relax and come home and watch TV and all the stuff that I put on the air. But I don't do that. I get home, I open up my laptop, and I'm constantly researching, planning, and strategizing for building what I consider to be such an important part of my life and the whole next chapter. And that's all stepping out of my comfort zone. And as these things slowly start to unfold, it makes me feel so much better because I am getting it done. I am doing it, and I know that it's all just right around the corner. And for people listening, I just would like to remind them that you've always got to be pushing yourself. You've got to challenge yourself. You've got to get better every day. And there's so many amazing people and information to absorb these days that there's no reason not to.
Yes.
You know?
Oh, I so agree with this because, you know, I was the same way, Ricky, when way back when I was working corporate, my day job, 9 to 5, I would come home and, work till midnight or whenever and doing my own thing, building my empire. And I always had people throughout the years say, oh, you're so inspiring and I could never do that. And they're working regular jobs. But I'm no different than them. I just put in the effort, put in that extra few hours that makes the world a difference and working toward your passion and purpose.
Absolutely.
So that's really the only difference.
Totally. I mean, we all have the same 24 hours a day. That's just a given.
Yeah.
And no one person has any more time than any other. And and when we say things like, oh, I don't have time or whatever, those are excuses. It's time to get rid of the excuses and really start serving yourself.
Yes.
And the way to do that is to find your passion and your mission and start living it. Start living it from your heart on a daily basis.
Yeah. I love that you did that talk just
oh,
free for all.
thank you. And I've got another one coming up in a few weeks.
But it's so true. It's like, today I didn't really script a whole lot with you because it's like free flow. We just, whatever's meant to be said is said. And we just, during break I said, well, Ricky, what do you want to cover in your book? So we came up with like immediately 3 great topics, like just boom. And I said, okay, let's do these.
Right.
And Ricky, of course, he suggested them. But, I just kind of said, okay, yeah, they're perfect. Because to me, they're like my top 3 out of the book. It was like if I could pick 3, that would be the 3 that I would have picked. So I think you're right on. I think you're right on the money with saying that those are your highlights of your talks, because that would I'm sure a lot of people out there listening too, those would be one of their top 3 on their list for sure that they would need to cover. But stepping out of your comfort zone. I mean, who doesn't need to do that from time to time? There's so many people that just go through their lives like drones. They go to work, they're so unhappy. And I'm always surrounded by people like that just, I wish I could change. I wish I could do this. I wish I had more time for that.
Right. Don't wish. Just do it.
Yeah. Do something every day, even something small. Maybe you do have long hours at the office or whatever, but still pick something, anything, and just do it once a day. Even if it's like getting on the internet and researching one topic toward what you want to be doing.
Right.
So say you want to write that book that you've always been wanting to write. Research, okay, how do I get started on writing a book? Start Googling, publishers or something to get yourself excited.
Right. And to that point also, know that you have an unlimited number of coaches out there who would be happy to help you do it, right?
Exactly.
I mean, two are sitting
I'll give
here.
you some motivation.
Right. But it's so true. People don't normally think about, do I need a coach? We spend more times planning our vacations than the rest of our lives.
So true.
And yet there are so many experts out there who are within our reach that we could just reach out to and, contact and get advice on what we are interested in accomplishing.
Yeah.
In the same realm of stepping out of your comfort zone, that's kind of almost like it goes hand in hand with conquering fear, right?
Oh.
And for me, I mean,
can't have one without the other.
No, but it's for me, it was as simple as there were a couple of roller coasters, that I had always feared, and I just bit the bullet one day and did it, and I cannot tell you the change it made. It just instantly clicked in my mind that, wow, I mean, not only am I totally stepping out of my comfort zone and conquering this huge fear that I've had for years, I actually enjoyed it. And, it just gives you a sense of achievement and that, yes, I can do anything, that I put my mind to. And so it's just very important to keep taking those little progressions day after day.
It sure is. I can't, you and I share kind of a similar path in a lot of ways. So I can attest to, if I didn't take those leaps of faith, if I didn't come out of my comfort zone and conquer the fear, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I'd still be corporate in Canada somewhere, hating my job and hating my life and not being happy.
And then I wouldn't be here and I'd be bummed.
Exactly. So, it's just small little things that I did. It was, throughout the years, it's like jumping on a plane at the last minute to go somewhere to see someone who it was just this last minute thing. And, I just got to go. Follow your heart. I think that is like such a huge thing. That was a pivotal thing for me. And I think with you were saying the same thing. It's like, to heck with it. I'm just going to abandon my structure and just free for all and do it what's coming from the heart. So I think, following what is right. And I always say that to people, and even myself, it's like when something happens and you think, shoot, I shouldn't have done that. In hindsight, you always knew. You knew what the right thing was, but you didn't follow it in the moment.
Right, and that kind of flows into another big piece, which is serving others. And, I kind of woke up one day and realized that I had devoted my entire life to an industry that on one hand I've loved, but on the other hand realized how much negativity it's sometimes responsible for putting out there in the world.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so for me, this has been so amazing because it's been a way for me to give back and really ground people in what really is important.
Yes.
And as you know, I mean, this is a whole nother mission that I'm about to embark on that's so exciting for me, but it's getting that message out.
Yes.
That, sometimes people criticize motivational speakers or the whole self-development industry as being brainwashing.
Yes.
And for me, really knowing the other side of it, to me, that's the brain cleansing. Yeah. We get brainwashed, right, every day. Yeah. Through the mainstream media, and not only on TV, but sometimes in the movies, billboards, outdoor, all of it in print and advertising. It's everywhere. Yes. And they're constantly sending those messages that unless we drive a certain car or live in a certain neighborhood or look like Ken or Barbie or are with our soulmates or any of that, that we're less than, that we're not worthy, that there's something missing, so that we'll go out and spend money and in that effort to find happiness.
Exactly.
Well, once you hinge your happiness on something external or something material, it's game over. You can't, you can't.
Or something you're not.
Or something you're not, exactly.
Yeah.
So
I just kind of had this flash of like when you were speaking about that. Could you imagine driving around like LA, for example, seeing all the billboards, but having them replaced with things like "Be happy" or "Live your dream" or opening magazines, and instead of seeing like Barbie and Ken, you're seeing real people talking about things, like topics in your book.
Right.
Can you imagine the shift in energy?
I love it. That that's I'm putting that on my to-do list, Michelle.
Wouldn't that be
I love
so
that.
Cool?
Yeah, no, for sure. Because I'll tell you, I sometimes in the research will be driving down the street on my way into the office, and I took some pictures of billboards, and I really don't watch TV.
I don't either.
Right? But
isn't that funny?
I know, right? That's the irony of my life, And believe it or not, there's this inverse relationship between how much TV you watch and your happiness level.
Really?
There absolutely is, and it's an inverse relationship. And anyway, I was driving down the street one day, and I saw this giant billboard. Up in the sky on top of a building.
Yes.
And there was this giant bird, with the wings spread, and it said, "All men must die."
I saw
you know what
that.
I'm talking about? Yeah. And I'll never forget the first moment I ever saw that billboard, and I just thought, are you kidding me?
The subliminal kind of message.
The subliminal message in that, and I told several people, and I finally found out that there's a show, Game of Thrones, which I have definitely heard of. I've certainly never seen it, but I know how popular it is.
Yeah.
Many of my coworkers watch it. Very popular show, and it was for, I guess, the second season of Game of Thrones. But regardless, that message and those words are so powerful, and to see them just. I can't tell you the feeling that came over me, and I took a picture of it, and those are some of the things in one of my next projects that I'm definitely going to be highlighting. And there's a company out there, American Apparel, with billboards everywhere, and the billboards that they have, part of it is the exploitation of women and the sexualization of women in media and all of that. And there was a wonderful documentary called Misrepresentation that I saw just recently. And
some construction outside. I thought you were.
Oh, excuse me. Oh, that's so funny. I wondered what that was.
It was John.
We'll blame it on John.
We have 2 minutes. Okay, Ricky, we've got to get your stuff out because, we were going to talk about gratitude, which is so important, and forgiveness. But if you want to explore that further, I want you to get a copy of Happiness Rocks, which is by Ricky. And Ricky, where can we get this?
You can get it either at my website, which is lifelonghappiness.com. Just click on store, and the book is there. And I even will sign it before I mail it out to you. Or it's also available on Amazon.com and Barnes & Noble. You can get it as a Kindle book if you like ebooks or the print version.
Awesome. Well, John, I didn't realize we were out of time.
Wow.
You've got to give me more warning next time. But thank you so much, Ricky, for being on the show. It's always a pleasure to interact with you in any way.
Oh,
so,
thank you so much,
yeah,
Michelle.
get the book. It's awesome, amazing, and it's chock full of happiness stuff and the gratitude stuff and the forgiveness, all of it. So get a copy and start being happy. So tune in next week, guys. Another great show coming up next week. We have another great guest.
Thank you for listening to Life by the Numbers with celebrity numerologist Michelle Arbeau, broadcast on UBN Radio from the Sunset Gower Studios in Hollywood. Tune in every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Pacific for all things numbers and so much more. We're out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, buddy.
We clear? 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Universal Broadcasting Network's hit afternoon show, bringing you the latest in music news, artist interviews, and more.